Reddit tree is back with top 4 paranormal activities of the day. Comment down if you had such experiences, subscribe to never miss an upload. Here we go. First event. The most fear I've ever experienced. I'll have to spend a lot of time setting up what was only a couple of seconds of terror, but this childhood memory has stayed with me more vividly than anything I ever lived through. My dad used to work in and around London as a temp landlord. People would move on from managing pubs and my dad would fill in the gaps for a few weeks/months until permanent managers were found. Anyone familiar with old London pubs will know that most are very old and tend to come with spooky reputations. I'd go and stay with my dad during the school holidays, summer/Christmas etc., and it was pretty great to be able to explore a new place every year. I'd get unlimited free goes on the pool table/jukebox, as much Coke, the boring kind, and crisps as I could hold down, and various other pub-related perks. He once managed a place called the Harbour Lights which had many stories of ghostly occurrences. That was the first pub I ever became wary of without ever seeing anything due to the sheer volume of staff/regulars sharing their experiences. Then he managed a place called the Streets. Now, my memory may be shaky on this, but I believe it was about 200+ years old, and damn, it showed in certain rooms. The decor was tragically outdated and gave it a real creepy vibe. This place, with it originally being a hotel, was utterly vast, with about 6 floors and a huge central staircase to navigate them. Now I don't actually remember too much about the place as I was about 9/10 years old at the time, but I'll remember what I'll tell you next until I die. It was New Year's Eve. My dad was going to be working that night, which was fine, as his girlfriend Michelle, who I got on with fairly well, was going to stay upstairs with me until he finished. Then about 8 p.m. that all changed. 2 of our younger bar staff had done what younger staff are prone to do on fun nights like nigh and called in sick, leaving my dad with little option but to ask Michelle to help him fill the gaps on what is a pub's busiest night of the year. The second I heard this I was terrified. As I said, this place was creepier than a Jimmy Savile smile, and I had no intention of staying on the first floor alone for most of the night, but they persuaded me with their sheer desperation. They put me to bed in the room I'd be staying in with the door open and a lamp on right next to my bed. The second I heard them descend the stairs, a cold dread washed over me. I was only a child and was genuinely terrified about sleeping alone in this huge, old place. The only thing that could keep me sane was to read a comic while sat up in bed. I remember my head starting to dip forward every few seconds, as you do when you're nodding off to sleep. When it happened, whack. Something had hit the pages right in the middle of my comic while I was holding it, and it fell straight into my lap. Almost at the same time I heard, directly in my ear, what I can only describe as a stereotypical demonic laughing, like something out of a movie. I was nodding off when the noise of my comic being struck happened, but I was 100% awake when I heard that laughing in my ear. I bolted out of the room, ran down the stairs and straight into the packed bar in only a t-shirt and my underpants. I still remember the faces of my dad, Michelle when they noticed me, and the smiles of nearby revelers turning into concern when they saw the state of distress I was in. I was so inconsolable that my dad left his duties and stayed with me until I was asleep. I honestly believe this was me being trolled by whatever mischievous/evil entities that may still reside there. Geez, I rambled on a fair bit there, so I hope you made it to the end. Second event. The creepy ghost of an old woman who watched you while you slept. I used to live in a trailer park in WV off a notorious road known for its haunting encounters. It even has its own website dedicated to letting the people tell stories of their experiences. But this was before I even knew that the website existed. So this was not long after I had my 4th child. She was a handful. Besides constantly taking her diaper off, she was a little ninja escape artist that always climbed out of the crib doing flips and the like. Since she knew how to get out on her own and did so quite often, it surprised me when, while sitting in the living room late at night watching TV, I heard her start screaming. This child was not a big crybaby. Not even when she got hurt. I knew something had to be wrong. I ran into the far back room where she shared a room with her sister and walked in. At first I didn't see her. And her sister had fallen asleep on the couch next to me. I started to say, "What's the matter, baby Gi?" When I at last saw her, my whole body froze in terror. An old woman with gray hair pulled back into a bun, wearing a red and black striped silk top and a long black skirt, was bent over my daughter's crib just staring at her, screaming her head off. Like she was studying her. As I stood there frozen, the old woman stayed hunched over and moving just her head, turned her face in my direction. She had no eyes and she was smiling at me. Not a friendly smile either, but an ominous one. I panicked. Mommy instincts kicked in and I dove for my kid, breaking the crib in the process. I got all of my kids out of the house that night and 2 weeks later we moved out. Hey there you, yes you please help me get 50 subscribers, subscribe now to get updated every day. Third event. Is this normal? Is it good or bad? So this has been going on since as long as I can remember. I have always seen shadow people creeping around corners, behind people, close, and far. Sometimes that would make me feel absolutely terrified to the bone and sometimes I felt perfectly safe. We used to be a really religious family and I remember learning about angels and demons at church and how everyone had a guardian angel. I rationalized the shadow people as this. One would pop up and stand in the doorway and another would pop behind, in front, or next to it, so I would assume my guardian angel was protecting me from some demon. Fast forward now and only gets more frequent. They're clear as day and I can stare at them for up to 30 seconds before they leave. They will be on one side of my counter and when I look at them they duck down and hide, same thing behind the couch and doorways. Sometimes it's only a head and sometimes it's the whole body and all different sizes. They watch me and I've always felt like I'm being watched. I have a friend who said he's never had experienced anything like this till he met me. I once randomly asked if he ever seen anything at my house and he said yes. He told me when I would go to the shower something would dash after me from my room into the hallway where the shower was. He said after seeing this stuff he started noticing it at his house. After telling one of my older sisters, 32 years old, she admitted she's always seen stuff like this, but the last time she was at my house she seen something crouching almost and it was behind her, so she went to look behind her and it got up and ran, but it looked at her and had these horrifying pure white eyes. She's never seen them with eyes, so she refuses to come to my house and sages every time someone comes and leaves her house. I've had things thrown in the direction of me including broken glass. I don't know if it's related, but my other sister has been having these dreams about this woman wanting to take her baby while she was only 1 to 3 months. It's actually how she found out she was having a daughter. I had a dream a few months ago, horribly vivid, and I don't get nightmares really, but I can recount the absolute dread I felt when the thing came in the house after my sister let it in. My sister was blank-faced and it was directly behind her with her face over her shoulder. She wanted my niece and nephew and I wouldn't let her take them. She wouldn't touch me or them, but she got my sister to grab them, and when I went to grab them back from my sister she immediately dropped her grip on them like she had no power. I told my sister later on and described her, and my sister said she's been dreaming of this exact woman for the past 12 years. Last but not the least scary event. Scared of my own home after 12 years of living there. I have been living in the same home for more than 12 years and I have never had a problem. But around 4/5 months ago weird things going on have started that are creeping me out. I have traveled a lot and spent some time living in creepy places, and along with indigenous people my old job allowed me to travel and work in remote locations. My last posting was in the outback of Australia with the Aboriginal tribe. Until my last son was born and I decided enough was enough and got a shift job working for a port company part-time where my shifts are varied and I can work any one of 3 shifts. Sometimes I get home early in the morning and I will crash on the couch so not to wake anyone up, which is when all the weird stuff started happening. I came home one night about 2 a.m., went into the kitchen and got a drink, which is when I heard someone walking down our hallway into our lounge, me thinking it's my daughter coming to say hi, so I walk out there only to see no one, which is when I hear them walking into the laundry and into our kitchen, so I backtrack into the kitchen to give her a hug only to find no one there and hearing them walk back up the hallway, so I walk up the hallway into her room looking for her only to remember that she wasn't home and is spending the weekend at her grand's. Which is when I had the sudden urge that something was going to attack me. Now I don't get scared easy, I have been attacked by all manner of wildlife and I was never afraid, but at that moment I knew I had to get out of that room. Whatever it was, it wanted to hurt me, so I backed out of the room and made my way up to the lounge, turning on the lights in the hallway, and the shadow in my daughter's room was so pitch black that the light didn't go through. I didn't sleep that morning at all. Since then my daughter has been complaining that someone is climbing up to her top bunk and lying next to her or grabbing at her. I can attest to this as it's squeaky and I can hear someone climbing up even when she's not home. I can't sleep in the lounge no more, as when I do I get woken up by something shaking the couch and screaming at me. Even during the day walking around the house you get the feeling of someone watching you, and the rooms will seem to darken with a fading smell of perfume. And my 2-year-old is so afraid that he won't go anywhere in the house on his, and if he realizes he is alone he will bolt and hide under the table crying and shaking, but is fine anywhere else. A few nights ago I crashed on the couch after a night shift, only waking to something pulling me off the couch and screaming at me. Thinking it's my wife and something is wrong, I bolt for the room to get the kids, which is when I felt something ripping down my arm, cutting it. There is nothing in our hallway. Today my wife was taking photos of my son only for them to come out warped like someone is trying to pull at him or posse's him.